What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 tips on how I've managed to run a faster marathon and how you can too. So it's a couple of days now after the Shepherdine Marathon and my very first sub 2:45 marathon, 2:44 and 34 seconds. And it's got me thinking about the journey from my very first 3-hour 54-minute marathon all the way down to a 2-hour 44-minute marathon, over 6 marathons in total. So by all no means am I an expert at this. However, I certainly have picked up some hints and tips along the way that I want to share with you guys. It's been a rocky road so far, but we're getting there and hopefully there is plenty more to come over the marathon distance. So what we're going to do is dive into my top 5 tips and things that I want to share with you guys. But first, let me just give a quick disclaimer. These are all my own tips and advice. I'm not a running coach. If you have any questions, I strongly advise you speak to a proper coach first. But by all means, have a listen, see what you think, and see if any of these tips can be incorporated into your training. My first tip is going to be stop focusing on everything and start focusing on something. So as a marathon runner, we run our first marathon, we train hard and we train to run the distance. And from there, if we are competitive with ourselves, we then try and get that time down. We then start opening our eyes to the world of marathon running. We look at elites, we look at other runners, we see what they're doing and we try and learn as much as we can. And from that, we tend to not only look at the running, but we look at strength work, form, nutrition, recovery. What was the other thing I thought of? I made a list here. Sleep, everyone says about sleep. So there's 6 things there that we suddenly, our brain is overloaded with what to think about, what do I need to work on? And then suddenly everything goes to pot because we're trying to do something of a little bit of everything rather than a lot of something. So stop thinking about everything because it suddenly becomes too much to process and it suddenly starts to take away the enjoyment of the running, and pick a couple of things and start focusing on them. So in the beginning, I started focusing on form and strength. I joined a gym a couple of years ago. That's been great for strength work, great for my back. Loads of work still to do, but my back is getting stronger and I'm able to hold posture for longer in the marathon race, which is absolutely key because the second your hips go and your back folds over, it's a game over. And the second thing is form. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll watch my workout videos. You see me do drills and strides before every single workout I do. 9 times out of 10, I'm doing those. So I stopped thinking about everything because it was blowing my mind and I started focusing on something. And when those some things become ingrained in your brain and you do them, then by all means, move on to the next thing to focus. Start trying to get more sleep, start trying to eat better, start trying to recover better, foam roll and stretching, which is the next one I focused on, but don't try and do them all in one go. And tip number 2 is going to incorporate a base building phase before any major block of training starts. So every time I have a rest, I have a break like I am now, I then come back into some form of base building phase before I then go into some serious training. This is only something I've been doing in the last 18 months, but I've done 3 base building blocks already, and coming up now will be my 4th. And it has made the world of difference. When you come back from a break after running, obviously if you watch Seth Damore's channel, you guys know how much he stresses about resting for runners, recovery for runners is absolutely key, and I could not agree more. Every time you come back from a break, if you're disciplined enough to have a break, like I'm going to be having a few days off now, coming back in and trying to jump straight back into sessions and things just is the worst idea in the world. It is just setting yourself up for an injury. What base building does is it starts to make you a little bit more bulletproof to those injuries because you are just focusing on running easy, or I just personally focus on running easy and steady paces, no workouts, nothing crazy, nothing stupid, bar the odd bit of hill work towards the end of the base phase to work on a bit of strength, just so that I'm ready and a little bit more finely tuned for when I come to incorporate those workouts. It's just setting the foundations up for that training block, for whatever training you have coming up next. And my 3rd tip is going to be to focus just as much energy on the shorter distance training as you do on the longer distance training. If you guys, again, have been a long-term subscriber, you guys will know that I do my training in blocks, and there'll be months where I do 10K training, then half marathon training, then marathon training. I stop, reset, and go again. It's so important to work on that shorter distance speed. I've been doing this for over 2 years now, where I've just been working my way up. And ultimately what it does is, if you do a base phase and then do 10k training, then half marathon training, then marathon training, you're getting all of that intense speed work done in that first portion of training. Then you start to work onto the half marathon training, where you're working a little bit more focused on the speed endurance rather than the raw speed. Then when you come to marathon training, it's like you've done all of the speed work that you needed to do in the weeks gone by in the shorter distance stuff, and then realistically 90% of your time just needs to be focused on the speed endurance work, because ultimately that's what the marathon requires, is speed endurance. So by breaking your training up into blocks, not only does it stop any mental blocks from wanting to train for a marathon, because sometimes we can train, run the marathon, go, oh, okay, what's next? And then have a bit of a lull in motivation. So by switching distances and going to something shorter, it allows us to refocus and go again. So by doing that, it allows me personally to refocus, retrain, get that speed, try and work on the PBs for the 5 and 10k, then for the half marathon, and then for the marathon. And tip number 4 is going to be to focus on effort rather than pace. I've got to articulate this one well, because I have a feeling I'm going to get some questionable comments in the section below. But for me, 18 months ago, I did 16 weeks worth of marathon training for Newport Marathon, and it all went horribly wrong. Not going into the details of that, but basically I was just a slave to the watch. One of the things that I focused on 18 months ago from then to now is to ditch the idea that I have to run certain splits at certain times and just run by effort levels. I've learned over the years from a multitude of racing what 10k, 5k, 10k, half marathon and marathon paces feel like in myself, what my breathing is like, what my effort levels are like. So when I go out and do workouts, I know roughly what effort I should be feeling to run those workouts at. I have no idea what paces I'm going to hit. I have a rough idea, but if I'm a bit slower than normal or if I'm a bit quicker than normal, that's fine, because do you know what? I'm not going, oh, I need to run 6 minutes per mile for this 10-minute interval, and then if I go running 5:50, I go, oh, I'm running too fast, I better back off. No, actually, you might just have stepped up in fitness level, and that might now be your new pace, and you just need to roll with it. Or, oh no, I'm running 6:10 per mile. I might just be having a bad day. I might have a bit of a cold. I might not have slept very well. My heart rate might be a bit higher for whatever reason, and therefore I'm working harder. Stop worrying about times and start focusing on effort. The times will come. And also, another side note to that, a spin-off, is from that moment onwards I've stopped setting myself specific goals for marathons and other distances and started saying to myself, I want a PB. If you watch Kelly's video in this one, which if you haven't, make sure you go and check out her video, the pre-race interview, I set myself 3 goals. I knew roughly what shape I was in, and that was the A goal, that was a 240. I knew that if I didn't get that, I'd love a 245, and anything other than that was a PB, which would be sub 259. I couldn't give a monkey's where I fell in that spectrum. I just knew that if I fell in there somewhere, that'd be great. And guess what we did? We ran just quicker than that B goal, because myself and Lee went out there feeling smooth, feeling good, not checking the watch other than every mile split, and just thinking to ourselves, do you know what? Let's just run, see how we feel. Let's talk all the way around. Let's feel good. And by running by feel meant that we were able to execute the marathon that we wanted. And the 5th and final tip, and probably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing when it comes to your running training during marathon, is your long run is absolutely key. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know how much I shout and scream about the long run. I focus on every single training plan. Doesn't matter what distance I'm running, I will always run the long run longer than I need to, because I'm trying permanently to become a better longer distance runner. For me, the long run workouts are absolutely key. Steady state long runs. It's very rare these days that I will go out there and run a long run easy. In fact, I can't even remember the last time. It was testing the PEG 37s. That was the last time I ran a long run easy, unless I'm in taper week. Every other one has a purpose, has a workout, is a steady state, or is some intervals in there over rolling trails. For me, getting that hill work in builds the strength, putting some kind of effort in works the system so that you're building up the speed endurance, and over time that has accumulated to me being able to run the marathon times that I have been able to run. Now, you can't just go out there and start doing these workouts. It's taken me a heck of a long time to get to the point where I can do this. I got to the point where I used to run up to about 18 to 20 miles easy. Then you had to scale it back a bit to focus on doing a workout in there, so maybe like 14, 15, 16 miles. And when you're comfortable with going back to 14, 15, 16 miles with a workout in it, then you can start increasing the runs back up to 20 miles with a workout within it. I cannot stress enough, long run workouts are absolutely key to marathon success. So there you go, those are my top 5 tips on how to become a faster marathon runner, how I've become a faster marathon runner, and hopefully you guys might be able to take away some bits and pieces from this video. But what I want to hear from you, regardless of time, if you have improved your marathon time in any way, shape or form, let me know in the comments below what you attribute that to. What key thing have you done in your training that has allowed you to run faster marathons? There are so many different training methods and so many different ways of getting to the point where I'm at with a marathon. Some people train completely differently to me, some people train exactly the same as me, and I would love to hear how you have done it in the comments below. But hopefully that should answer some of your questions, because I've been getting a lot of questions over social media just asking about training, and I just wanted to wrap it all up in one video and say, look guys, this is the top 5 things that I've done, I've changed and I've worked on hard over the last few years, and it's got me to where I'm at today. But of course 2:44 is just a start. We'll be getting that time down lower and lower and lower into the 2:30s and beyond. Hopefully we shall see how that goes. If you enjoyed today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. Thank you all so much for your kind words, kind support on the last video, and I will see you on the next one. Until then.